for the playlist, going strong in conversation with General VN Sharma, who was Indian Army's 14th Chief of Army Staff. Sir, General JFR Jacob, retired as the Chief of Staff, Eastern Command. He was there during 71, and later on he was he held a few important posts, including one in Punjab. But I am talking about your association and your impression of General Jacob. What would you like to say, sir?
I first met General Jacob when he was the Lieutenant Colonel, sir, as an instructor in the Staff College, when I was a student, sir, 1962. Sir. And he was in the training team. That means they used to run exercises and so on. Sir. My first counteraction with him was that there was a telephone war game going on, sir, where an American commando officer, Captain Hendricks by name, was made an Armoured Brigade commander for the exercise. Sir. And I don't know if have you done Staff College?
No, sir. I've not done
in Staff College, yes, there is a particular action that takes place. Sir. In the plane. There's a thing called Malurnur Ridge, sir, which the enemy has captured, and you have to do a counterattack to, sir, recapture it. It's all on maps, yes, and telephone. There's a lower control and a higher control, and the students are being exercised. The students have produced a general and brigadiers and all that, colonels, yes, and all that. So now, in that exercise, Jamie Hendricks, the infantry commando type of American Army, was made the brigade commander, and a chap called I'm forgetting his name, engineer officer, who later commanded a division before he retired, and he was made the brigade major. Sir. And I, who was the Armoured Corps fellow, was made the DQ, okay, of the brigade. We had to make the plan. So when we had to make the plan as students, Jamie Hendricks and that fellow said, come on, you tell us what is to be done. So I gave them the plan. I said, this is how we attack. I decided to attack the position at night, sir, with tanks. Yes. That meant that before the enemy has come, all tank rows have actually walked on the ground to see how each tank will go on top of that hill. So we made that plan. Now naturally, when the training team came to check out our plans, and JFR Jacob was in charge, his Lieutenant Colonel, he bullshitted this Jamie Hendricks to say, this is the most idiotic plan I've ever heard in my life. Going in the middle of the night into a rocky outcrop of things, you come to a miserable failure. What sort of a man are you? And then he played hell with the brigade major, who was an engineer officer, MC Gupta. To say that what sort of a brigade major, you didn't advise the commander properly. And these guys kept quiet. They didn't point at me. Yes. So I stood up from there. I said, just a minute, sir. I am the Armoured Corps chap here, and I made the plans. So Jacob came to me. Hey, what sort of an idiotic plan have you made? I said, I'm sorry, sir. You're a gunner officer. You have no idea how tanks are to be used. And since you feel it is idiotic, had you been the army the commander of the enemy, you would have been surprised. Yes. Because you don't expect this. Yes. And therefore, you lose the battle. So he said, but what nonsense, this is not the way of using tanks. I said, who told you? He said, we've got Lieutenant Colonel B.M. Singh, who's the Armoured Corps directing staff there, yes, who had commanded, I think, 65 Armoured Regiment or something during the 1965 operation. His experience in war. He has decided the way it should be done. I said, well, every commander makes different views. I don't agree with Lieutenant Colonel B.M. Singh. This is the way to do it. And since you have taken me on, let us discuss it point by point. You firstly are surprised. You don't expect this attack. Half the victory is mine, straight away. And secondly, what is your objection to tanks going at night? If crews have actually walked and done this job. So we had a discussion with JFR Jacob. He bullshitted me a lot, but I bullshitted him back. So he became very fond of me. Yes. His first characteristic was, he used to argue like hell with everybody. Yes. And if you kept chup, he didn't think much of it. Yes. He wanted you to be a person with the guts to take him on. Sir. So he took note of that. I used to play bridge with my wife, okay, while she was waiting, yes, for my directing staff to leave the thing. So he knew her also. Anyway, so later he became a brigadier and went to Ladakh
Yes.
as a brigade, artillery brigadier. I was G2 Ops of 19 Division in Baramulla.
Yes,
He rang me up from there that, look here, I want to do fishing.
Yes.
And you are the G2 Ops of the division. There's a lot of excellent fish in the 19 Deep sector, that's Kashmir
Yes.
Valley. So please lay on some good fishing for me. I said, okay sir, please come on. So he came and we first sent him to Gurez Valley.
Okay.
You know Gurez
Yes.
Valley?
Yes.
Where what the Pakistanis call the Neelam River and we call the Kishan Ganga. You put your hand in and rainbow trout can be caught. A beautiful area. So he went there, he put his line in and out came a fish and now he kept very happy. So he was very pleased. He said, this has been too easy.
Yes.
So I want to capture a big masher. There's
Yes.
no masher in Kishan Ganga. So we knew the various hunters of the Maharaja of Kashmir in the old days.
Yes.
Hari Singh.
Yes.
Because Maharaja had all sorts of hunting expeditions for the British, for himself and so on. So he had those hunters who were now out of jobs. So we would employ them to assist our guests to do the hunting. And so the hunter took him to where the Jhelum is debouching through the gorge beyond Baramulla. That is, there's Rampur, and beyond Rampur the river gets into rapids, going towards Muzaffarabad, very fast. So there's a little bridge across the river there, where the river is really going very fast under the bridge. It's a footbridge. So there's a rock there, and the hunter took Jacob to that rock. He said, cast a line here. So Jacob took off on him. He said, what sort of a guide are you? This is the last place that any fish should hit, the water is too fast.
Yes.
And the hunter told him, and the officer who was his hero said, he's telling you to do something, just do it. He cast his line and he got caught by a fish so strong that he was nearly pulled into the water. So then 2-3 chaps had to hold his legs and prevent him from going into the water. Itna bada masher pakda. He came in his jeep from Rampur back to Baramulla and told the guard outside the division quarters to Major Sharma ko bro. So I went there. This masher was at the back of his jeep with his nose sticking out at one end and his tail at the other end. He said, see, this is what I've caught. I said, there you are, you're not, and I had all the information. So I said, you don't obey orders. That's the trouble with you. If you obey orders, we can get you a damn good fish. Anyway, he says, no, take something for the div headquarters, itna bada piece kaat ke diya and all that. And he says, my wife was in Srinagar and so was Mrs. Bedi. Gurdeep Bedi was the DQ of Rampur Brigade.
Sir.
So she was also a friend of my wife, so they had a house together, sharing 2 flats. So she said, I'll go there and give them some fish. So this is Jacob. Then when I was in Mizoram, commanding the Mizoram Brigade, 73 Mountain Brigade, he became army commander after Naveen Rawley retired.
Yes.
So the first year or so was Naveen Rawley, then Jacob took over.
Yes.
So he visited, he rang me up. He said, I'm going to come and visit you and you better give me a good briefing. I said, okay. So he came and visited us all. And I had all my 14, 15 battalion commanders with me. So they gave the briefing each sector separately. Jacob listened to them. Then he played hell with them. He said, why are you useless chap? You don't know doing this. There is no capture of weapons. There is no this, there is no that. You chap don't know anything. He bullshitted them and all. Colonels were very quiet. So then the time was over. I said, sir, time for lunch. Shall we go? We go. So I said, before you go, do you mind if I just say a word to my officers because they are going away now to the respective battalion? I said. So I said, whatever the army commander has told you, don't believe a word of it. Yes. He's an argumentative man and he wants you to argue back. So please have the guts next time to argue back against him when he tells you you're a bloody fool. Say that you're not. Okay, now you can go. Yes. So all right, he accepted that. Then he wanted to visit one of my pickets. It was the 21st of December.
Okay.
Now, 1974. And he wanted to see a picket, air maintained post. Fine. So we got into a helicopter and we landed at this post. So when the helicopter lands, the post commander is present to receive you. He said, JCO, I had already briefed him.
Yes.
The army commander sahab aa rahe hain. Tell all the boys and girls of the village to be there. They like seeing the helicopter coming and going because they've never seen things like that. So they can see the helicopter. And tell them to bring their guitars because they all sing. So we got off the helicopter and you have to walk up the hill to the post, which is about 10 minutes walk. So as he was walking and the girls and boys were watching, he was going up. So he says, hey, everyone here has got a guitar. I said, yes, they sing. He says, can they sing? I said, yes. So he says, will they sing for us? I said, you want them to sing? I'll tell them to sing, they'll sing. So I told the post who spoke Mizo, tell them to sing Christmas carols. Now Christmas carols are exactly sung with the same tune of the Christian church, right? But the words are in Mizo.
Yes.
So what the Padris have done earlier is to convert all the Christian hymns, carols, songs, psalms in the same tunes, but with Mizo words, so that you can understand what they are saying. So they started singing various Christmas carols like How the Merry Angels Sing and Silent Night and this, that and the other. And Jacob said they are singing very well, and so he joined, because he's a Jew.
Yes.
So he joined in the carols and I joined. We were singing in English, they were singing in Mizo. And we had a good time for about half an hour. Now the time to visit the post was only half an hour.
Yes.
So after we had finished with them, about 40 minutes, he said, now where do we go? I said, sir, it's no time to go back. So he said, all right. So we got into the helicopter and came back. He said, well done. You've got a very good relationship with the local people. I said, it's part of the game, you see. So Jacob was very interested. Then he wanted to meet the chief minister. Now that's a lieutenant governor was there, who was the boss.
Yes.
And like Delhi, Mizoram was then not a state.
Yes.
It was, lieutenant governor was the boss. So you had a chief minister and you had a cabinet. But every decision of importance had to be signed by the lieutenant governor before it was passed. So he went to meet Shri Chowchinga, who was the chief minister, in his cabinet. And he went there, and as the cabinet immediately stood up in their room, and as he shook hands, he was sirring all these people. So I took him aside. I said, why are you sirring them? So he said, but he's the chief minister, he's a public authority, so he has to be served. I said, no, sir is a thing in the military, where you sir your superior. You don't sir any civilian. And these people call me sir, so there's no point of you calling them sir. So get off it, otherwise my position gets lost. Okay. So then he stopped sirring them. This is Jacob. Now let me tell you about Jacob. He was a bachelor.
Yes.
He was a very kind-hearted man, but a lot of bullshitting.
Yes.
A lot of arguments. Because with those arguments to draw out people.
Yes.
And secondly, he was a great collector of fine arts.
Yes.
In his house, the army commander's house, he had all sorts of knickknacks and things which are now in the Eastern Command mess. You see?
Antiques and others.
Antiques and so on. For example, they were mainly making a new Calcutta bridge.
Yes.
There's the old Howrah bridge and they were making a new bridge. Now when the new bridge, the place that they selected was a bathing ghat where there were two lions.
Yes.
One was like this, sleeping, and one was looking up.
Yes.
Right? And those two lions are made of sandstone. Yes. So he found out from the chief minister, Jyoti Bosu again, that when you build the bridge, you are going to destroy all the beautiful land. He said, yes, we'll destroy. So he said, you don't mind if the army removes them? He said, please remove them, we'll save some of our work. So he sent some army trucks and all that, and winches and all that, and got those two things out and put them outside the Eastern Command base.
Okay.
Right?
Yes.
That is Jacob. With the result, when he was army commander, when you say goodbye to one of your staff officers,
yes,
the army commander presents him some token.
Yes.
So, if he felt that the officer was a sleepy type, he'd give him a token of the sleepy lion. If he felt he was an alert chap, he gave the alert lion. So that became the what do you call it?
Speciality of
to give to a retired officer who is being posted out of the army headquarters. And if the army commander was to be posted out, or the chief of staff, then he had a plate with both the lions.
Yes.
If you want to see that, there's one lying outside.
Okay, I'll see that.
We'll show it to you.
Right. Okay. Thank you very much. This conversation would continue. Be with us.